Hi there, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to take you through the construction activities and what it cost us to do this parapet, as well as the roofing woodwork and the roof itself for this 5-bedroom duplex in Korinde, Nigeria. In addition to that, we will also show you the finished work, or at least the level of finish that we have given to this building as at now. Stay tuned as we take you through the process. Now, soon after we have completed the block leveling, the thing that follows is the parapet. And now you can notice that the leveling of this building followed a gentle slope, which is in accordance with the roof of the building. Now, to do the parapet, first we have to use a chaining beam that goes around all the external walls, and this is what in essence carries the weight of the parapet. After the chaining beam is done, then the flats of it, but because this parapet is just a flat one that comes out from the beam, then the flat parapet comes out. That's the formwork. Then on this formwork is now where the ironwork rests, both for the beam and the parapet itself. This, of course, is done to ensure that there is enough reinforcement that keeps both the ironwork as well as the concrete work that is going to come upon it in place later on. Now, after the ironwork is completed, the next thing that comes on is the electrical piping work, which ensures that the lighting points are placed at their particular locations as at the time before the casting. As a matter of fact, that is the work that is going on here. The ironwork had been completed, and the electrician is fitting in the pipes at the locations where we want to have the parapet lightings. And this is of course done with measurement to ensure that the lighting spacings are exactly as we have them on drawing. And when this is done, then of course the iron rod is going to be lifted with the concrete biscuit. Then after that, the casting of the parapet begins. Now, the casting of the parapet is a job that is done very carefully, such that the casting doesn't shake or move from position the formwork. And of course, it is done so well so that it slopes also according to the slope of the roof by the end of the day. So, when the casting of the concrete fascia, which we otherwise call the parapet, is completed, the next thing that follows is the woodwork for the roof. This starts by first of all carrying the wall plate, which is tied to the building with all the extension columns that come up at the end of the work. And after tying it to the building, every other wood of the roof now rests on it. Now, the tying of the wall plate with the extra reinforcement from the columns helps to make sure that the roof is in position and cannot be lifted during the storms. Now, the woodwork for a relatively flat roof is has a gentle slope, and this is also a choice for many because number one, it's aesthetical. Two, it will take less wood to roof a building than a hip roof or a gable roof or any other kind of roof. But the thing there is that care should be taken to ensure that the slope is well done so that there's no depression in the roof whatsoever. And again, another thing that should be taken care of is ensuring that the roofing sheet, the covering of the roof, is of top quality to ensure that it does not bend when it is already installed. Now, there's another thing that causes leakage in this kind of roof. If the POP that is going to be done in the building is heavy, it will kind of drag the roof down. That is why care should be taken while choosing the kind of POP and every other kind of finish that comes wherever you do a flat roof. It is important to ensure that whatever load you're going to give it does not drag it down to create a depression, which will create a kind of puddle where water will collect by the end of the day and hence lead to unnecessary leakage inside the building. So here, the wood for work has been completed and the house is now ready to receive the roofing sheet. So, after the parapet is done, after some days or weeks, we now remove the formwork. Then the next thing that comes up is dressing of the parapet, which should be done before the roof covering. Although it could also be done after the roof covering is put in place, but doing it before the roof covering is put in place helps to ensure that we have a good access to every part and corner of the parapet. And once that is done, the next thing that comes up is the roof covering itself. Now you can see that what we used here is the long span, the one that has big gutters, and that is to ensure that the water runs off easily. Now, we've also noticed that the metrocopo, which is actually a solid roof but has some kind of stops, there's some kind of design that hinders the free flow of water. It's not the best for a flat roof because it disturbs the free flow of water. So for this kind of roof, what is best is to use a long span, which allows the free flow of water from the top to the bottom. Now, it is important to state here that the roofing completes an important milestone in a building project, which is from the foundation to the roofing carcass. Some people just call it the building carcass. So after you have done from foundation to roofing actually marks the end of the first big, will I call it stage or milestone? Because we have different milestones. You can actually divide a project into different milestones. In this one, we have foundation to DPC, DPC to decking, the decking itself, then decking to parapet, then the parapet and the roof. After that, the next things that follow are all classified as parts of finishing. This includes the plastering, the fixing of the windows and the dressing, then that of the doors and dressing, then of course the screeding, the tiling, cabinet work, electrical wirings and fittings, and all whatnot that comes in a building. Now, the cost of these items mentioned can actually vary from project to project. Now, to achieve a similar parapet for an average duplex today will cost a project between 2 to 3 million naira. Additionally, to do this kind of roof for an average duplex in today's Nigeria will cost between 4 to 5 million. That is to say, both the parapet and the roof, woodwork and roofing sheet in today's Nigeria will cost an average duplex between 6 to 7 million naira to achieve. Now remember, this is a flat roof, and now this depends on the size of your roof and the depth of your slope. That will determine the quantity of wood that will enter there and the quantity of roofing sheets that will enter there. Additionally, the choice of roof also affects the cost by the end of the day. Now, finishing is a very important aspect of a project. We can have exactly this the same building, and one would cost far higher than the other to finish because of the choices of finish that is used on the building. For instance, this socket, this switch you're seeing here, if you go to market, you will see that it varies. You could get a switch a black switch, for instance, that may cost like 3,000 naira. You will also get another one that could cost 1,000 naira. At the same time, you can get another one that could cost as much as 5,000 to 8,000 naira. But it only depends on the choice of the client. Now, for this lighting, you can see here, some people may prefer not to put the hidden light. And if you don't put the hidden light, of course, that will remove the cost of the hidden light. If you like only the spotlights, and some people may also want to put a chandelier in their rooms. All this affects the costs of finishing. So there is no hard and fast rule about finishing, but finishing in general depends on the taste and choices of the clients at that particular time. So what we do at Umek is, as we approach finishing, of course, we carry the client along. If we want to buy anything from the market, we'll send options to the client and advice, of course, on what we think. But of course, the client might have preferences as well as a budget for that, which will, in essence, guide what the choice is going to be by the end of the day. But in all, the choices of finish or finishing material varies project by project because of individual preferences on quality, on color, and on any other thing. So in summary, there is no upper limit to what the finishing of a building could cost, because one could decide to buy or put in place anything in his building, no matter the cost. And of course, this by the end of the day affects the total cost of the project. So, having said that, we can now agree that one can actually compute the cost of a building from foundation to the roofing. After that, every other cost that follows, which is practically the finishing, cannot be deduced without knowing exactly what the client wants. Because, take for instance, if you're computing the cost of tiles, what cost are you going to use? Is it that of Nigerian tile? Now, if it is Nigerian tile, there are different grades of Nigerian tile with different costs. Okay, are you going to use Italian tiles, or China tiles, or Indian tiles, or what have you? So, you have to decide from day one what kind of tile and its quality that you want to use before you can compute the cost of tiling of a building. If you want to talk about screeding, so what kind of screeding do you want to do? Is it the normal screeding or the putty screeding? Because each of them has its own costs. If you want to talk about the doors, which door do you want to use? For instance, if you go to the market, you will see some imported doors that one door may cost as much as 2 million naira. And you can also see some other doors that one door may cost just about 100 and something to 200,000 naira. So which choice of door will you use to compute it? So that is why it is difficult to state how much a building could cost without knowing exactly what is going to be used. So the choices, that's why we keep mentioning the choices that are going to be made during the finishing to be a major determinant of the total cost of the project. Now, having gone through all the construction activities as well as the cost from foundation, one could boldly say that it will cost one to do an average 5-bedroom duplex between 40 to 45 million to roof the project. Now, it depends on the size of the project, because I keep mentioning this. There are projects that are big. It may be, for instance, a 5-bedroom, but the rooms are massive. Of course, you cannot compare what the cost of that will be with what the cost of the average one will be. So, that being said, the cost of finishing, on the other hand, could vary from project to project based on choices. But an average one that is relatively finished should cost a project an average of roughly 80 million or above that. Like we say, there's no upper limit, but this is what one could budget to take a project from foundation to the finishing stage. Just as we have mentioned, of course, that will vary from project to project and from person to person. The total cost is totally dependent on the individual and his choices of finish. In our next video, we are going to carry you through the processes of this project. It is going to be a live project that we're going to show you the real-time cost of constructing this project from foundation, showing you the cost and quantity of materials used at each stage. Thank you for being with us this far, and see you in our next one.